How do you say I wore pajamas, then went to sleep in Japanese? Most students would say パジャマを着て寝ました. That's perfectly fine. But you may also say パジャマを着たまま寝ました. It looks grammatically correct and it sounds more sophisticated, but actually to a native speaker, this feels a bit strange. So now you are probably thinking, wait, why? Let's look at this sentence. パジャマを着たまま出かけました. I went out while wearing pajamas. This is perfectly fine and natural Japanese. So what's the difference? The secret lies in the hidden rule about unusual situations. Let's take a closer look at mama. It's one of the trickiest grammar points in Japanese. Let's start by getting a clear picture of what mama really means. Because there are so many ways to use mama, it can get confusing. Here's the key idea. Mama is about a situation or state that has already happened and then just continues as is. That's it. So something becomes a certain way and instead of changing, you leave it like that. Now, depending on how you use mama, that ongoing state can feel a bit different. Sometimes situations force you to act in ways that you don't fully agree with. Sometimes you are choosing to just leave things as they are. Other times you are going along with that situation or even doing something while that state is still continuing. But no matter what, the key idea stays the same. That situation or condition is still continuing. Alright, now you've got the big picture. Let's look at how mama actually works. Let's start with how to use mama with nouns and adjectives. It's actually pretty straightforward. For nouns, you add no mama. For adjectives, you use the modified noun form or nai form plus mama. Now, let's see how this actually works in real sentences. このサンドは冷たいまま食べてください. Please eat this sandwich while it's cold. Here, the idea is keep it cold, don't heat it. 生のままの魚は食べられません. I can't eat fish that is left raw. Now, you could just say 生魚, meaning raw fish, which is much simpler, but 生のままの魚 gives a slightly different feeling. It emphasizes the idea of leaving it in that raw state. この花は1週間もきれいなままです. This flower stays beautiful as long as a week. In this sentence, the situation is being beautiful, and the flower simply continues in that state for a week. So as you can see, everything comes back to that core idea. Something stays the way it is. Let's move on to using mama with verbs, because this is where things get a bit tricky. Let's look at one of the most common and interesting uses of mama. This is when you use it with verbs with ta form plus mama and nai form plus mama, and often followed by another action in a sentence. We also often add de. Now, here's a key idea. This is really important. You use this pattern when the situation feels wrong, unusual, or not acceptable. In other words, something is left in a state where it's not supposed to be, and then another action happens. Let's look at an example. 田中さんは目を開けたまま寝るんですよ. Miss Tanaka sleeps with her eyes open. Normally when people sleep, they close their eyes, right? So this is unusual, and that's why 開けたまま works here. Next one. 弟は掃除しないまま出かけました. My little brother went out without cleaning. In this case, the expectation is that he should clean first, but he leaves the place uncleaned and goes out anyway. So again, it's a situation that feels not quite acceptable, and that's exactly when mama is used. One important note, you can't use ていた or ていない with mama. Mama describes continuation of the situation that happened already. So ongoing expression feels like the situation hasn't yet resolved to a stable state. Alright, let's move on to another verb pattern with completely different meaning. This time, let's look at mama with the passive form of verbs. In this pattern, you will often see ni added after mama. Another important point is that this structure usually involves two different people. Basically, one person suggests something and the other follows along without resisting, although perhaps with some apprehension. The first person's intention basically continues through what the second person does. It often has a nuance of slight dissatisfaction. Let's see how this works in real sentences. 店の人に勧められるままに高い洋服を買ってしまいました。I ended up buying expensive clothes just as the salesperson recommended. So the salesperson's recommendation dictated your action of buying expensive clothes. Here's another example. 部長に言われるままこの作業をしました。I did this task just as the department head told me to. In this case, the department head's words dictate your action, and you simply follow along. It suggests that you may not entirely enjoy doing so. So the key idea here is you are letting someone else's words or actions guide you, and you are going along with it as it is. It doesn't have to be about you. It can also involve two third parties. Alright, next, let's look at the dictionary form of a verb using mama. This one is especially confusing. When you first learned mama in Japanese, probably you were told, just use the verb in ta form. Sounds simple, right? But then later on, you discover passive verbs can also be used. And suddenly, you see a plain dictionary form with mama that is not in the passive. And wait, what is happening? Don't worry, this confusion is totally normal. The truth is, you can only use a small number of verbs with this pattern, and they are usually idiomatic. The key idea of this type is this. You are letting your natural feelings or instincts guide your reaction without much thinking. It means your spontaneous reaction continues as you act. Let's look at some examples. この映画について感じるまま批評してください。Please criticize about this movie based on how you feel. Here, 感じるまま means you are speaking freely based on your genuine feelings. No deep analysis, just your honest impression. Now, this one. 日本では足が向くまま知らないところを旅行しました。In Japan, I traveled wherever I felt like visiting unknown places. 足が向く literally means legs orient towards, but real meaning is going wherever you feel like going. You will also often hear 気が向くまま, which means doing whatever as you feel like doing. You can think of this pattern as capturing a natural, instinctive flow of action. Now we get into something even more interesting and useful. We often end sentences with expressions such as ままにします、ままです、ままでいます、and ままになります。Although they all contain まま, they each have a slightly different nuance. ままにします describes the intention of keeping the situation as it is. The speaker consciously decides not to change the situation. ままです is simply describing the situation that is unchanged. ままでいます is similar to ままです but more focused on continuation. ままになります is becoming the situation that continues. Let's look at how they work in real sentences. これは箱に入れたままにしました。I left this in the box. This means I intentionally left this in the box. 山田さんは昔のままです。Mr. Yamada is the same as before. This simply describes Mr. Yamada. He is the same as before, and nothing seems to have changed. It usually refers to a person's character or physical appearance. Now, when mama desu follows a ta form or nai form verb, it often gives a nuance that the situation is unexpected, undesirable, or unacceptable. For example, 窓が開いたままです. The window is left open. It gives a slightly negative nuance rather than simply stating the fact. いつまでも田中さんと親友のままでいられるといいです. I hope I can remain best friends with Miss Tanaka forever. It emphasizes on the continuation of the forever friendship. 喧嘩してから弟と話さないままになっています. Since the fight, I haven't spoken to my brother, and it's still that way. The focus is on the resulting state and its continuation. Now that you've seen how it works, let's wrap things up by summarizing all the different uses of mama next. So to sum it up, mama can be used with several different forms. You can use it with nouns and adjectives, also verb ta form and nai form. You will also see it in the passive dictionary form and verb dictionary form. When noun or adjective is used, usually it just describes the continuing situations. For example, 山田さんは昔のままでした. Mr. Yamada was the same as before. You can also add another sentence to describe an action that happens while the situation continues. When you use a verb ta form or nai form, it often suggests that the situation continuing as is feels unusual, unacceptable, or wrong, especially if an action happens in that state. With a passive form, it can imply that someone is acting under someone else's control or instructions, often with a nuance that they may not be entirely willing. With a dictionary form, it's often used in idiomatic expressions to describe spontaneous thoughts or reactions that lead to an action. Not all nouns, adjectives, and verbs can make sense, but when they make sense, they all share the core idea of a state or situation continuing. And if you want to keep improving your Japanese, check out my other videos for more interesting grammar facts and practical tips. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss my new videos. You can also join my daily quizzes in the post section. Check out my Udemy courses for Japanese learning as well. Links are in the description below. Thank you for watching.